Hi, everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and you have stumbled upon, or actually did it on purpose. You're at the Raging Verbalist. This is actually Raging Verbalist number 31. The Raging Verbalist is all about talking about interesting topics and how to actually improve yourself, improve your business, improve your life. With me, as always, is the lovely Sandra, who will be asking questions. She'll be standing in for you. So if you want to do an upgrade to how you look, there you go. You got it. So good morning,
There we go.
Sandra.
Good morning.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about what I call a Kaizen moment, and I'll be explaining what that is and what that means. I also want to prompt you, push you, and say, first off, hit that subscribe button if you're on the YouTube side, and hit the notifications so you get the little bell, and that'll be annoying. But hey, we're posting not that much, so it won't be too annoying. Also, you can go to Position to Win Facebook group, Position to Win Facebook group. Sign up there. You can then ask questions. You can get them to Sandra, and she'll bring them to me, and we'll get them answered, and we'll put them up there. And who knows? Maybe you'll get an honorable mention. You'll get a shout out. Could your day be any better than that? So let's talk about breakthroughs in self-improvement. Now, I don't know about you and whether or not you've been on this trail to improve yourself, but I've been one of those people. I have drank my various shades and flavors and colors of Kool-Aid over the years and gone out and said, wow, this is going to be that breakthrough I was looking for. Oh, this is going to be the breakthrough I'm looking for. And it's always interesting because when I meet fellow travelers in this process, I mean, I've had people work for me who, walked on fire at Tony Robbins. I've had people who've, done the, ice cold bear dunk thing, you know, okay. I mean, fire and ice. I've seen, talked to all kinds of people, and everybody's trying to figure out how to get better. At least some people are. So there's been some breakthroughs, maybe, but really, people would just go, well, I did this, and then it didn't really do what I thought it was going to do, or it didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. So today I'm going to give you maybe a little bit different approach, a little different way that can actually move you in a better direction. Now, we're not going to cover everything today, so we're going to be able to have some more sessions. I'll be able to kind of flesh this out, but it's something that I know works because, well, it works for a totally different world, a totally different place. See, oftentimes when somebody comes up with the formula for success, that breakthrough that we've all been waiting for, it usually means that it's something that they came up with. They thought, well, this sounded pretty cool, and I think I can pitch it and sell it, and everybody will feel happy about it, write a book, and away we go. Now, I'm interested in a practical side. Does it work? Does it get something done? Do I actually move forward? Am I going to be more successful? Am I going to be, less stressed and less of those things? And of course, as I'm recording this, we're in the middle of shutdowns and global pandemics, and the spam has hit the fan, as they say, and we're sitting here. Well, no better time for self-improvement, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about some of those breakthroughs. Now, what I really want you to do is take some notes, and I know that that's kind of rare because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and most people aren't like encouraging somebody to take this thing called a pen. See, pen. By the way, this is a big, serious pen. This is my serious Sharpie. As they say, some states this is illegal. I mean, just because it's like a lethal weapon, and it could be because you could write something amazing and change how you live and how your life is. So with that, I'm going to have Sandra ask me the first question. I know that she's been thinking about this. So Sandra, what is it?
All right. Why do I feel like I'm running in place?
Well, that's an interesting question. And as you get, live life and you go out and do things, it's always hard because you feel like, you're that, you're on that treadmill, you're on that hamster wheel, you're running as hard as you can. You get done with the end of the day and you're exhausted, you don't seem to be making progress. And I think the reason why we feel like we're running in place is that usually we don't have a purpose of what we're trying to do. We don't know what we're trying to achieve. Now, what we know is we're going to be really busy. I've got stuff I've got to do today. Sandra has stuff she's going to do today. We've got clients that we're going to be working with later today. So we're very busy. But what you have to do though is be able to break that time up. And why you feel like you're running in place and why that happens is that it is very easy to get trapped into busy, 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 busy. Now, think of it this way. If I told you that you had some fatal disease, the big C, and I said, hey, guess what? You now have that. You now change your priority. You now say, wait a second, I don't have an infinite amount of time, and therefore I'm going to have to do things differently. The running in place thing is that what we do is that we get stuck in a routine. We get running hard at it, but we're really not making progress. And that comes from the fact that we haven't really laid out what we're trying to accomplish and then set a definitive time to get it all done. That deadline is critical. That deadline will drive you to a different place. And that's really important. So when you're going to sit there and try to become more accomplished, to become better, self-improved, to get out of that syndrome is you have to say, am I doing those things that are, and I'm going to give you 3 layers, 3 ways to think about it. Number 1 is vital. This is something that you absolutely have to do, and there's some vital things that we do every day, right? We have water, we have food, we breathe oxygen. I mean, these are things you got to do to survive. I mean, as far as I know, there's lots of other things you might be able to do, but you do there's vital. And then there's important. There's things that are important that you have to do. We have to get this done because we have a deadline for our business or deadline for what we're going to do. So we have to do those things. And then the final layer is nice to have now, or nice to do. Now, the problem is that most people get this backwards. My clients do this all the time, especially coaching clients. I'll find out early on that what they do is they're doing the things that are nice to have, nice to do. And what they do is they push off, they delay, they essentially deny that they have to actually get some things done that need to get done. And therefore, they're not accomplishing much. That running in place is that I'm doing lots of activity, but I'm not actually accomplishing what I want to accomplish. And usually that means that the ratio of working on nice to have versus important versus vital is out of kilter. If you do that, what happens is that you will wake up and you'll say, wow, I was super busy, but I don't know what I really accomplished. Now, part of it is that you don't have a way to put that into perspective. But the mistake that people make and why they feel like they're running in place, they're on that treadmill constantly, is that they do not know why they're doing what they're doing. And they're not saying, how does this contribute to those things that are vital in my life? Whatever is vital in your life, whatever is that most important thing that you need to do, that must be the thing that you will work and gravitate towards on a very regular basis. Do that and you'll become significantly more successful. All right, Sandra, what is the next question?
Why does it seem so hard to change?
So we are creatures of habit. There is something that is called homeostasis. And homeostasis means that, we basically want to get into a rut. We want to get to a place that's kind of a comfort zone. We want to get to the big lazy boy recliner with the cooler next to us and maybe the remote and the keyboard. And we got our phone and we got our tablet. We got, technology. So what we do is we get into this rut and we're sitting in this rut and this rut feels very comfortable. And the more comfortable it feels, the longer we sit in that rut, the more likely it is that we're not even going to think about moving away from it. And then at some point in time, we go, oh, wait, maybe I need to do something different. Now, with the current shutdown going on, it's even been more compounded. I have talked to so many people who are not working very hard. I know some of you are going to go, hey, foul on that, John. No, we're working hard. But are you really? Because what they're doing is they are doing activities, but for the most part, what they're doing is they're looking at the things they can't do. Well, you can't go out to meals. Maybe you can't go out to movies. I love to go to movies. Maybe you can't go and go do outdoor activities. You can't go to parties, or you can't go visit family. So we can focus on all the things that we can't do. The question is, what can we do given the circumstances that we have? This is how you can actually find a way to make it easier to change. So why is it hard to change? Is that there is this barrier, and this barrier prevents you from getting to the change that you want to do. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experience that it took me 5 times to quit smoking. Now, I was not one of these, hey, I smoke when I drink. I wasn't one of these, oh, casual, I do a little bit here or there. By the time that I decided that I needed to seriously think about changing that habit to go away from that, I was smoking somewhere between 3 and 5 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, all I can tell you is that you have to be determined. You have to be seriously determined. You never want to run out of a match. You never want your lighter to be far away. There's no buying a pack of cigarettes. You're a carton buyer all the way. Now, I can tell you that change is hard because I had to go through a process by which I needed to do that change. And that process is that I had to first have a realization that, I need to actually change. Milton Erickson, who was a famous, now lots of people know him today for other reasons, but Erickson was a very famous psychiatrist, maybe he was a psychologist, said that patients will not seek, and I'm paraphrasing, so with all due respect to the Erickson, followers, but what he said was that patients will only seek treatment once it is more painful to suppress the condition than to actually attack the condition. And that's very true of us when we are trying to think about changing. So I had to go through a process, and I would quit, and I would find out that it was hard. I mean, there was physical withdrawal, there were psychological senses of what was going on. My wife was still smoking at the time. I was still drinking at the time. I got to tell you, everything was aiming towards, I've been off of them for a while, but maybe I could just have one. Well, one turned into 10 and turned into a pack and turned into a carton. So it's hard to change because we like whatever pattern of behavior we're doing. It is reinforced. Now, you may say, but John, wasn't that destructive? Couldn't you intellectually see that? Had an interesting discussion about this. I was sitting on a Southwest flight. I was flying from San Antonio to Denver. And on this row, I always sit by the window. And I do that because I used to always sit on the aisle, and then I would get my elbows and knees mashed as they came down the aisle. I would have people put their hands on my shoulder, not because they were blessing me, but because they couldn't understand that it wasn't a place to put your hand, and people would push me back in the seat and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I said, the hell with this. I'm going to sit by the damn window. Also, when you're sitting in that aisle seat, invariably you have somebody who has a little bladder syndrome, and LBS, and it seems like we've only taken off and we're like 10 minutes into it and they've got to go. Well, the little lights on, you can't congregate at the front, getting to the back seems like another freaking zip code, and they got to climb over you. Hey, I'm sorry, little bladder syndrome. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm sitting in my favorite seat. And by the way, that I always like to sit in row number 7. Could be lucky. So I'm sitting in that 7th row, and this couple sits next to me. Now, the Southwest, if you've never boarded them, you do not have an assigned seat, so it is a very Darwinistic type thing. You got to get your seat, you got to hang on to your seat, you got to maintain your seat. It's good for you. It's like fiber. It's good for you. And I'm sitting there, and of course, I always talk to people. For those of you who are listening who are in other parts of the world, like my friends in the UK, I chatted them up. So we're having this conversation, and I find out that the woman sitting next to me is a doctor. And I said, well, this will be an interesting conversation. So we're having this conversation about, a variety of topics. And she turns out to be a person who's very much in favor of, we're going to educate people. And once we educate them, and they see the evils of their ways, habits will drop away. People will turn towards better health. In other words, we're going to sell prevention. Now, we don't have time to go into it now, but if you want to go sell prevention, you better get yourself a bucket full of miracles because it is freaking impossible. So we're sitting there and I said, okay. So, and she sits on committees. She's politically active. She and I probably don't agree on a lot, because again, as a libertarian, I've got a whole different slant on this, could piss off just about anybody left or right. And we're sitting there having this conversation and we get to smoking. And I said, well, I'm an ex-smoker. Took me 5 times to quit. And frankly, as I tell my doctor, if you tell me, Doc, I only have 6 months to go, and I really believe you, I'm not going to be one of those clingers. We all have seen the clingers. And again, if that's you, okay, I got it. I'm going to fight this thing to the bitter end. But what I'm going to probably do is go buy a carton of Marlboros and a bottle of Black Jack Daniels. And I mean, the hell with it. Go out in a blaze, Hunter S. Thompson, man. I mean, boom, burn it out. Well, she was aghast at that. Oh my God, terrible. So we start talking about, of all things, preventative medicine and habits and why things are hard to change. And I said, you got to understand something, that, if the pack of cigarettes said, if you buy this pack of cigarettes, you have a 50% chance of dying, and there were 2 people in line and each were going to buy a pack of cigarettes, they would be convinced it would be the other guy who was going to die, not them. So we get into kind of this heated discussion because, first off, she doesn't believe that with just some preventative education, showing people how bad things are, that people are going to quit. And I'm like, well, okay. And I said, and she goes, and I happen to have an expert with me. Now, all during this time, her husband has been doing something that is so rare that I almost needed to film it, and we could have had like a whole video about that, which is he has a laptop, one of those big laptops, the kind that, you fold those babies out. It could be like a picnic table for a family of 8 kind of thing. I mean, he's got one of those big laptops, and he's got it out. And here's the thing he's doing, which is so rare, is he's actually doing real work. Because see, today, now, this is a time when most people at that time had tablets by then, but no, he is working on something. Well, it turns out he was going to speak at a medical conference in Colorado, and he is an expert on lungs and lung cancer. I mean, what are the odds of me drawing this guy? So she goes, she taps him on, because he's trying to do the best he can to ignore me, because see, he's heard his wife go through this before. I mean, I'm not trying to create any kind of bad news, but he has heard her get on the soapbox, and she goes, listen to this guy. And I said, look, here's the problem with preventative medicine. I mean, preventative, education, is that it's great, and some of us may get the message. I changed, I did that, and it's hard to do, but I'm going to tell you that it's very difficult. And she goes, no. And he goes, well, and I said, and he isn't giving her the right answer. So of course she starts getting more upset. And I said, well, let me tell you, is that if you got everybody over to vaping, which, oh, well, don't even get her started on that, that you would have less people, or maybe chewing tobacco, or, nicotine patch, something other than smoking and inhalation. So, I mean, actually, probably the patch. I said, look, if you gave everybody nicotine, you'd have less lung cancer. She goes, no, nicotine bad. Nicotine's terrible. Well, I don't know. We're going to find out. Maybe it is bad. Well, it's highly addictive. So, and if you have an addictive personality, it's one of those highest addiction things that you can go. So I'm not promoting it. Anyway, what I asked her is, I asked her a very simple thing. And that is, I said, on this little row here of row 7, which one of us is the addict? Now, I call myself an addict because I was in an addicted state. Now, a lot of people just, they shock at that, because, an addict is somebody that you see, down and out and, laying against a building with a needle, sticking out of their arm or something. And I said to her, look, here's the deal. The reason why change is hard is that it always starts with you. So if you're going to change, you have to make a decision yourself. And the difficulty is that we usually make a decision in haste that we can't really go out and accomplish. In other words, our mouth is writing checks that we can't pretend to even pay off and be able to cash. So we can't really do that. So part of what we're talking about today, part of what I have discovered is that we have to break it down into something so small and so possible and so capable that you can actually accomplish it and make it through that and get positive reinforcement. Because I have to tell you, the first time I white knuckled quit, it was a bad scene. I tell you that, it was a horror scene. But every time I did it again and again, and eventually I did. So for those of you who are counting, the last time I had a cigarette was January 1st, 1985. Now, it's been a while. And it was, since then, I have been offered cigarettes, cigars. I went through the whole cigar thing. I mean, I used to smoke everything. I mean, I got pipes. I got, I've had people work for me and go, well, I don't smoke cigarettes. I smoke hookah. Well, it's tobacco. Come on. It'd be a little bit like saying, well, I don't do crack. I just do cocaine. Get serious. So the point of it is hard to change because we push it out too far and we say, I'm going to quit this forever. And when you do that, your brain goes, bzz, you go crazy because forever seems like a really long time. So we're going to talk about in just a few minutes why I have come up with what I call the Kaizen moment and why that will help you get through these and hopefully let you move towards more healthy things. In fact, I'm running out of things to give up because I've given up a lot of things. Like I don't do, and I know some of you will find it amazing, but I don't do caffeine. I mean, I do decaf coffee, and I know people say, but John, it has 0.3%. Okay, listen, I don't really do caffeine, all right? And here's proof. Get somebody who's an espresso drinker and give them decaf, and they'll spit it on you because they go, oh, there's something wrong with this. And what's wrong is they're not getting that jolt of caffeine. So it is hard to change for a very simple reason, which is we make too big of an attempt at one single time. You can't jump that far. The question is, what is a significant change that you can make, which then leads to the next change that you can make, which gets you on a different trajectory and moving in a different direction. If you do that, you will in fact find a way to change. And hopefully by the time we get through today, you'll say, you know what? I think he's on to something there. Oh, by the way, while we were sitting there and we went through this whole thing and she started hitting her husband and wrapped it up as they both had wine. And I said, well, do you realize what you're doing by taking alcohol on an airplane? First off, it increases this, it does that. And she trotted out the best thing she could have done, which is she said, well, in France, they drink wine and they're healthier and they're this. And I said, well, if that was the case, how come we don't have a wine bar at every single doctor's office? Hey, get your little shot of wine because it's going to make you healthier. Thank God I wasn't at the emergency row because she would have popped that door and gotten rid of me quick. All right. So let me tell you what's going on, give you a little bit of a sense of what's happening. Have come up with a project that I've been working on, and you can now go see it. We have a website, and it is being worked on. We have a website called turnaroundengine.com, and it is to promote my new latest project, which is Turnaround Engine Network. And we're going to hear more about it as we go through this over the course of this year. But Turnaround Engine Network is all about the biggest potential I have ever seen in business in all the years that I've been doing turnarounds, which is 27. And I'm going to tell you that this is the time here and now to get serious about thinking about how to go out and capitalize on it. And that's exactly what we're going to be teaching you, is how to capitalize on this massive, massive change, which is coming right now. All you have to do is look at the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, the Economist, watch just about any media, and what you'll see is all these businesses that are crashing and burning, and that's where the Turnaround Engine Network comes in. So check out turnaroundengine.com. Also, don't forget, we have a couple of books. Shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug, shameless plug. Yes. Okay, most businesses fail in their first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win. This book will tell you a lot about why businesses, well, they fail the first 5 minutes, but the day of reckoning, that 3 to 5 years, well, sometimes businesses last longer than that, but now the day of reckoning is coming. You want to go check this out. Available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any place that you want to go buy a book. If you walk into a bookstore, say, go get this, most businesses fail the first 5 minutes. You can also get it electronically. You can get it on Amazon Kindle, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble Nook, and all those other places. So go check that out. Also, if you've not seen Remote Work for a Better World, which talks about what we're dealing with now, which is be able to do things remotely, go check that out. And of course, you can get all of this if you want to go get some more freebies because you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live. Is go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Check that out. You can find out about a whole bunch of things that I do, and you can go there. Now, time is going to be running short, so I'm going to have Sandra. We got time for 2 more questions, and then we got to wrap up because that's the way life is. Got to keep moving on. So, Sandra, what is our next question?
All right. How do you win the self-improvement game?
It's interesting when somebody decides that they're going to improve something and in their life, and they go and they find a book or a friend recommends something, or maybe they've had some tragedy or something happens, and then they go, okay, I got to go do something differently. And how you win at the self-improvement game is not going from guru to guru to guru to guru. I mean, if that works, give me a call, tell me who we should go to see. But what I can tell you, having gone through a lot of different books, a lot of different courses, a lot of different things, is that it is a mistake in my mind to think that you're just going to wake up and go, bang, I'm going to go out there and find some breakthrough. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't good information. There's lots of good information. There's lots of good stands and takes on this thing. But what I'm going to tell you is to win at the self-improvement game is that it isn't just buying the book. See, if it's just buying the book, because I believe a lot in self-improvement. I believe a lot in changing who you are over the course of your life. I've done it considerably. However, there's certain things that you can't just do and have them work. And I'll just give you an example from me. This has not been a success for me. And that is, I decided years ago I wanted to learn another language, Spanish in particular. Now, it's kind of cool because my co-author, co-conspirator, business partner, Gabe Batista, is fluent in Spanish. Now, but long before that, I decided I was going to learn how to speak Spanish. I would write it down on my, New Year's resolutions. This year, I'm going to learn how to speak Spanish. And what I did was I started acquiring various materials to learn how to speak Spanish. I went out and I got a book. I got flashcards. I got audio tapes when there were audio tapes. I got CDs when there were CDs. I got software programs. I have gotten as many ways to learn how to speak Spanish as you possibly can. Now, I even got a course that said how to subliminally learn how to speak Spanish. All I found out is I was, whenever I was dreaming, I was thinking about maybe I should have, Mexican food or something. But I'm going to tell you that you can't just take all that material and then you're going to by osmosis is going to come into your head and it's going to stick. So my suggestion to winning, how do you win the self-improvement game, is understand that it is a game that you're going to have to be organized and you're going to have to take care of things, because what you cannot do is just expect it to happen to you. It doesn't just happen to you. You actually have to take action. So here is the big bad word: action. The story of the 2 woodsmen. They drive to the edge of the forest and they get out of the truck, and they're barely out of the truck, and the one guy on the passenger side leans into the bed, picks up a rifle, points it at the woods, fires off several rounds, bam, 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 turns to his buddy and says, God, I hope something good runs into that. Now, that's what a lot of people do. Now, now they would assume that that is action. That is not action. That is activity. Activity is being busy. Activity is doing these things without actually taking real action. Action is doing something on purpose, directed towards a goal, directed towards a destination, directed towards actually accomplishing something. See, it isn't enough to buy the boards and the nails and the tools and bring them home and say, I'm going to go build a doghouse without having the plans and then actually taking action in doing that. You have to be able to take action. So don't confuse activity with action. Taking purposeful action, and you'll hear me say that a lot over the next few weeks, is very critical, because you have to do something on purpose. You have to have a reason for doing it and moving that forward. And when you do that, what you'll discover is that you actually do start to achieve. And we'll talk about how to deal with that achievement level, what you think is an achievement or not an achievement. But just always remember that when you're sitting there and you need to do action, do not confuse that with activity, because activity, in fact, we're now back on the treadmill. No matter how fast the treadmill goes, you're not making progress. You're not going forward. Now, maybe you're making progress, cardiovascularly. You get okay, but you're not. If our goal is to get from point A to point B, a treadmill is not going to get you there. So what you have to do is you have to do that, and you have to make sure that you're taking action, you're doing it on purpose, and you're doing it for a reason. Okay, Sandra, what is our next question? This one has to be the final one. Sorry, everybody. Every week, just every week, Friday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Raging Verbalist. Come on, myself, and of course the lovely Sandra. Make sure that you join the Facebook group so you can ask questions. So if you have any questions, and always, one more, cry and plea for subscribers. So anyway, Sandra, what is our final question for this session?
All right. Kaizen, what is it?
So here's what Kaizen is. Kaizen was actually developed. It's a Japanese word, and what it is it's all about incremental improvement. So after World War II, the country of Japan was devastated. And what happened is the Allies decided that what they needed to do is help Japan build up their industry, because they were quite industrious, but more importantly, build up their industry in a way that so they could be self-sufficient, but be peaceful. So what they did is they started hiring experts, and Kaizen came from this concept of making small incremental improvements. Now, most people learn Kaizen. I learned it initially from process control and how to improve manufacturing. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to, and this is where we'll get a little technical. So you may want to buckle your seatbelt. But this is where this thing called Six Sigma, which is how do I take the number of defects and drive them to the smallest level possible. And what the Japanese did is they embraced this concept, and they had a guy named Deming go over and teach them about it, and they took it to a level which is amazing. If you look at the evolution, and it isn't the revolution, but the evolution of how Toyota builds cars and where they went, where they came from and where they went. So from the rubble to the top of the heap in real time, very short period of time. And what they did is they used a concept called Kaizen. Now, when I read about Kaizen, when I talked to people about Kaizen, when I became fascinated by it, all those who were experts in Kaizen would ask me about what manufacturing process I was going to apply it to, what things I was going to do. Well, frankly, when I first started reading about it, I'd already left the manufacturing sector. I was already ensconced in sales and marketing and advertising. What I realized is that Kaizen as a concept works, and it works everywhere. If you want to improve your ad that you have, What's one of the things that every ad, every good copywriter, every good designer, everything does is that we develop an ad that is our baseline. This is our baseline ad. And so this is our standard. And then what we do is that then we take that and we say, how do we take that and improve it piece by piece? And the rule in advertising is that you only change one element at a time, and you see, is it better or worse? If you've ever been to an optometrist, and they put the little lens and they go, is A or B or A or B? Well, in essence, that's what Kaizen is. Kaizen is taking that and working through that. And direct response is called a control. And you build off of your control. So one of the things that I started to understand is that I could apply it not to manufacturing, but to all of those areas in business. And eventually the realization hit me that I could apply that to my own personal life and for self-improvement. Kaizen allows you to make little steps, little improvements every single day. It means that you're not going to quit smoking for forever. Tell somebody they can never have ice cream forever. Tell a little kid that they'll never have another chocolate bar, and you will see hysteria break out if they love chocolate. But say to yourself that maybe today I'm not going to have a cigarette, but maybe that's too long a horizon. Maybe how about the next 5 minutes or the next hour or whatever that increment is. But it isn't only about denial. It's also about, how do I improve things? The Raging Verbalist is an example of Kaizen. If you look at where we were when we first started on, episode 1, we're out there. I mean, I'm white knuckling it. I'm, beads of sweat. And what all that means is that Kaizen isn't, and by the way, Kaizen is also an antidote for perfectionism. And we can talk about perfectionism in another day, but I can tell you that perfectionism stops people. I was talking to an author once, fairly famous guy, and he said, John, my greatest fear is that when I die, my best stories will be in my head because they were untold. Now that's pretty profound. I mean, that'll kick you back. Understand that Kaizen is all about doing what you can do and doing it today and improving it and saying, you know what? Everything is about, we are only as good as we are today. It doesn't mean that we can't get better tomorrow. Do not have regrets and feel bad about something. You just have to keep moving on. Because if you let that emotional baggage build up, if you let it grow and fester, is that eventually, you know what will happen? You will stop and your world will get smaller and smaller and smaller. Kaizen is always about getting better, incrementally better, improving a little bit better. So it should be that your life continues to expand and grow and expand and grow and expand and grow. And that's what Kaizen is. Now, I coined the phrase a Kaizen moment. So I ask you to take a 3x5 card or whatever else way you want to do it and say to yourself, what is the Kaizen moment that I can have today? What is that one thing? Maybe it's to learn a new word. Maybe it's to read a part of a book. Maybe it's to watch a video. Oh, maybe it's to watch Raging Verbalist. But what you want to do is you want to pick something and say, I want to improve this even just a little bit, because that little bit makes all the difference. Do that every day. Find Kaizen moments. Stop yourself when you're in the middle of something and you're feeling like it's out of control and say, can I take a Kaizen moment? Can I take a 30 second, a 60 second, a 90 second, 100, can I take a few minutes, 5 minutes, and take that break and improve something? And when you improve one thing in your life, it radiates out and improves other things in your life. That's what I call a Kaizen moment. So I want to thank everybody who has come on today, and we're going to see you next week. I'll just remind you that if you're not watching my other show, which is Speed Start Monday Freemium, Speed Start Monday is my weekly sales meeting for those who either have a sales meeting they hate or don't have one at all. I do a little freemium session. It's usually between 7 and 10 minutes on Monday. Go check that out. Also, that's going to be available on our YouTube channel, so you can go get that. And I give you a real piece of information. It's not just some kind of, hype pitch and all that stuff. And with that, I'm going to bring in Sandra for one final thought. Sandra, have you learned a couple things today, hopefully?
Yes, I have.
Good. All right. Well, and thank you, Sandra. And for everyone who's out there, I hope that you have a Kaizen moment today and that you start finding ways to have Kaizen moments at every point that you possibly can. And therefore, even when you're arguing with your aisle mates on the 7th row at 37,000 feet, you're still learning. Because I was learning from her in spite of our heated discussion. Because you know what? Every day you should think about how you're learning and growing and getting better. And that's what a Kaizen moment is. Thanks for coming on The Raging Verbalist. And until next week, I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr.